Hey, folks, guess you heard.
Joe Biden, who turns 80 just before Thanksgiving, becomes, with his positive test for COVID, the latest in a long line of presidents who've battled a serious illness while in office. Donald Trump's aides downplayed the severity of his bout with COVID in the fall of 2020, which landed him at Walter Reed Medical Center. But later, a book by Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, revealed Trump was so weak at the time he couldn't carry a briefcase to the helicopter which transported him to the hospital, and that his oxygen levels had dipped to a, quote, dangerously low level just hours after he announced he had the virus.
When the former president showed a drop in his blood oxygen level, that suggested strongly that he had pneumonia. And that is one of the ways you die from COVID.
Even putting aside the pandemic, analysts say the sheer stress of the job makes a president vulnerable to illness.
The presidency accelerates whatever weaknesses the human body has.
Some presidential health scares have been shrouded in mystery or outright covered up. Near the end of 1919, President Woodrow Wilson suffered a massive stroke that took him out of commission, unbeknownst to the public.
The American people were not told how sick he was. They were not told how devastating the stroke was. And as a result, they were not told that for approximately 17 months, the actual operating, functioning President of the United States was First Lady Edith Wilson.
During his presidency, John F. Kennedy battled Addison's disease, a potentially life-threatening illness. He had serious back pain and intestinal problems, much of which were hidden from the public. Historians still debate whether Ronald Reagan, who later was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, showed signs of the disease while he was still in office. His aides denied it. Some presidents' illnesses could have changed the course of history. Wilson's stroke, Tim Naftali says, made a crucial difference at the end of World War I.
His massive stroke made it impossible for him to achieve congressional support for the Versailles Treaty, which meant that the United States never ratified the treaty, which means the United States did not participate in the League of Nations.
And it's still debated whether FDR's weakening health hurt his ability to negotiate with Joseph Stalin at Yalta in 1945. Why has there been a proclivity for aides and relatives of some presidents to shield their illnesses from the public?
There's been this concept that somehow if the president has had any kind of medical issue, it's a flaw or a vulnerability. I would argue that obscuring that becomes a hazard.
I asked Dr. Jonathan Reiner what's the best way to keep a president fit while in office. He said no matter how busy, how crammed the president's schedule is from morning until night, they've got to build time in for themselves for exercise, even if it's just 45 minutes. And he says taking weekends away at a presidential retreat will help their physical and mental health. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.